I'm Brianne Fatimi. I teach high school art for 9th, 12th grade. I'm going to be teaching about Rorscharch artwork and going through other artists, as well as getting into a little bit of psychology. So they're going to learn about positive and negative space and creating their own art. Okay, so let's get started. I have a PowerPoint here that I'm going to go through, and so let me kind of go through this. So we'll start with an essential question, which will be, how do you think art and psychology are connected? So if we think about art and psychology, are they really connected? Is there some kind of connection within them? If we think about it more, we can say that yes, through our perceptions, through our apperceptions, lots of times what we see visually, we can connect through psychologically. We make connections with that. So Rorscharch, Hermann Rorscharch, he had this idea as well. He's a Swiss psychologist who created the Rorschach test in 1921. He first used ink blots as a tool to diagnose schizophrenia. Has anyone heard of that? You know, there's other types of psychological diagnosis, but schizophrenia was what he was really getting into with the Rorschach. So later he used them for personality tests. He studied over 300 mental patients and 100 controlled subjects as a basis for writing his book, Psychodiagnostic. He experimented with several hundred ink blots before narrowing it down to just 10 used for diagnosing. And I'll show you those 10 in a bit. He had gotten his ink blot concept actually from a German doctor, Justinus Kerner, who in 1857 published a book of poems called Kleshgraphens, where he made a work from accident ink blots, actually. So that concept kind of came from a reading that he got. So it's also, it tapped into the subconsciousness to reveal personality traits is what he thought. And if we look here, and I'll show you, this is actually, hold on one moment. This is actually the book of the German ink blot, so that he kind of had inspiration from. So you can see that it looks like an ink blot, if you know what they are, and then it turned into a little guy, so it kind of had that concept kind of came to him with how he can use this. So here's another one. And so if we look at this one, I'm going to ask you, like, what do you see? So if we look at it, what do you see? So everyone's going to be different with their responses. So it just is whatever kind of comes to you and what you see through it. And what about this one? This one has color. So these are two of the ink blots that he used for his test. So this one has some color, and then I asked, like, what do you see in this one? And then here are the 10 different ink blots that he used, and we just looked at this one and then the first one, so 1 and 10. But there's different, and if you look at them, very commonly, bat, butterfly, moth, these are what they see. And then with this one, they see a crab maybe, lobster, spider, a rabbit head, caterpillar, worms, and snakes. So these are the typical answers that people see within these ink blots. Okay, and does anybody know the comic Rorscharch, the DC? So this is a comic book where they took this Rorscharch, actually, and then his face turns with different feelings that he feels. His face blot, the ink on the face kind of turns and forms into different shapes. So that's from the Watchmen comic book. And then there was Andy Warhol. So Andy Warhol was born August 6th, 1928 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Czechoslovakian immigrant parents. His father was a construction worker and his mother was an embroiderer. The mother gave him his first drawing lesson at age 8. He emerged from poverty, becoming one of the most successful and highly paid artists. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but he's a very famous artist. He used art to explore his sexual identity, and his art focused on consumer goods and pop culture icons. It broke down the borders of high and low art, making work of everyday objects. He died at age 58 in 1987, and some of the most expensive paintings were his. But it's not really commonly known, but he also did these ink blot series. So this is the Broad collection. So the Broad is just down the street where we live in LA. And this is a huge ink blot. So you can see it's 162 by 115 feet. So over 13 feet tall. And I personally am able to see his ink blots in person, and they're very big. They're very, very large. So it's done in 1984. And then this show I was able to go and see. And you can see there's one here. And then also that ink blot kind of inspired a Swiss architect kind of has this ink blot design for the new LACMA that's going to be built here in LA. So this is the old kind of geometric, very hard lines, while you have more fluid, curved lines of an ink blot. So more organic shape versus geometric. And then there's Regia Cora, is an Indonesian artist, born in 1982. We can watch the video, but I want to first get into the lesson. So we're gonna actually today make our own ink blot. So it's really simple. What we're gonna do is I want you to take your paper and you're just gonna fold it in half. So whatever size you want. So I have a little one here, and you're just gonna fold it in half. It's real simple. Or you can do a larger one and fold it in half. And the ink blots are going to be very simple. So what you're gonna do now is you're gonna open it up, and then you're just gonna select some paint. You can do one color or you can do multiple colors. It's up to you. You have choice. And then you're just gonna apply the paint. So I'll have some black in there, and you just put it down. Don't overdo. This is thin paper, so you kind of want, some paint here. Okay, and then maybe some blue for this one. You can see it's just kind of applying some little bits of paint. Not a lot. You can do more than this, but I think I'm applying a little bit more colors here. And then for this one, I'll do orange. And then I'll do some yellow. Oh my. Okay. And red. Okay. And then I'll do some green on this side, this one. And I kind of did all the colors, but it's up to you. You can do one or you can do multiple. It's kind of up to you what you and then simply what you're gonna do is you're just gonna fold it again in half. So you're gonna take your paper and you're gonna fold it in half, and then you're gonna flatten it. You're gonna squish it. Okay, so just like so. I'll do the little one. Okay, So now that we have it flattened, we're going to simply open it up and reveal our art. Okay, and then we're going to let it dry. But while we're letting it dry, so does that look really cool? So while we're letting this dry, let's do the other one too. I want you to, as an exit ticket, I want you to write down what you see in your ink blot. Look at this one. It came out pretty cool. So I want you to write down what you see in this ink blot. So the ink blot that you make, you're gonna write down, just like I showed you with the Rorscharch, on what you see. So not only are you gonna write down what you see in this, so whether it be a cat or a caterpillar or butterfly or something, I want you to tell me how you feel when you see this. Is this something that you feel a positive kind of emotion, negative? Again, everyone's perception is unique, and we have different experiences, so we see different things with different feelings based on this. I'm just gonna go over a little bit of vocabulary. So we went over the positive and negative space. We have positive space, right? Which if you look at this cutout, the positive space is this witch here. The negative space is all the space that's around, so you can see through. That's the negative space. So you can see it on here. The negative space would be what? The white paper. While the positive space is the and so then it also is very symmetrical, right? Because we did it in half, so we have symmetry. So both halves are the same. So go ahead and write down again how you feel and what it was that you see in your work. Okay, thank you so much.